2. It was a quiet winter night in the small town of Ravenwood. As its residents went to sleep, they were blissfully unaware that by morning, their peaceful world would be shattered. The streets were empty, the houses dark, and a strange, heavy silence hung in the air. Inside one of those ordinary houses lived Daniel Harper, a man everyone knew as polite, calm, and completely average. Laura was hesitant, but she ultimately agreed, hoping this might finally bring them some closure after their painful separation. She arrived at the house at approximately 9:20 p.m. That was the last time anyone would see her alive. What transpired inside that house remained a complete mystery for hours. But the forensic evidence collected later would paint a truly terrifying picture of the events. An argument erupted almost immediately upon Laura's arrival. Daniel, lost in his delusions, accused her of spying on him. He claimed she was working with the shadowy figures who, in his mind, wanted him dead. Laura, confused and alarmed, tried to calm him down, to reason with him. But it was too late. Daniel's grip on reality had already slipped away completely. In a terrifying moment of uncontrollable rage and paranoid fear, he attacked her. The attack was brutal and chaotic. The evidence showed no signs of premeditation or planning, only raw panic, explosive anger, and the terrifying logic of a fractured mind. When it was over, a moment of horrifying clarity seemed to dawn on Daniel. He realized what he had done. But instead of calling the police, he panicked and tried to cover his tracks. Tim's, to clean the crime scene, were desperate and careless. He left behind a trail of incriminating evidence. Bloodstains remained visible. His fingerprints were everywhere, and most damning of all, security cameras from neighboring houses had captured clear footage of Laura entering his property, but never leaving. The next morning, Laura's family, worried sick after not hearing from her, reported her missing. The police immediately began questioning those closest to her, and Daniel's name was at the top of the list. When officers arrived at his house to perform a welfare check, they immediately noticed inconsistencies in his behavior. He appeared intensely nervous, avoided making eye contact, and his story kept changing, filled with contradictory statements about the previous night. It didn't take long for the investigators' suspicions to grow. Within hours, they had obtained a search warrant and found the evidence that confirmed their absolute worst fears. Daniel Harper was arrested that very day. During his interrogation, Daniel showed no clear signs of remorse. Instead, he seemed lost in a state of confusion. He repeatedly claimed that he was only protecting himself, that he was the real victim of an invisible, relentless threat. Psychiatrists, who evaluated him, would later testify in court that Daniel was suffering from a severe delusional disorder at the time of the crime, a condition that had profoundly warped his perception of reality. Despite this, The court ultimately ruled that he was aware of the nature of his actions and their consequences. The trial that followed sent shockwaves not just through the small town of Ravenwood, but across the entire country. Media outlets covered every single detail, sparking a nationwide debate. Was Daniel Harper a cold-blooded calculating killer who had cleverly feigned mental illness? Or was he a deeply broken man, failed by a system that hadn't recognized his desperate need for help? In the end, the jury delivered its verdict. Daniel Harper was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison, with no possibility of parole. A life was senselessly lost, and a family was destroyed forever, left to grapple with unimaginable grief. The case of Daniel Harper serves as a chilling and unforgettable reminder. It teaches us that the face of evil is not always menacing or obvious. Sometimes, it lives right next door. It smiles politely, follows a routine, and hides its turmoil behind a carefully constructed mask of normalcy. And by the time the devastating truth is finally revealed, it is often far too late. B.O. Thank you for watching, and if you found this story compelling, please consider subscribing for more deep dives into complex cases.